Night fell like a verdict. Mark Vance welded a hatch onto the roof of a school bus, half buried in a hillside. A red arrow glowed behind him like a brand.
Living like a mole down there, Vance.
Mark didn't look up. The torch hissed, sparks showering the frozen ground. He'd heard worse. Then another figure stepped into the light. Councilwoman Elaine Carver, a clipboard in her hand.
Mark Vance, this structure has been condemned. You have 30 days to remove it.
He unfolded the paper. Inside the bus, his 8-year-old daughter, Mia, watched through the open hatch, her face pale in the warm light.
Condemned. After everything it took to keep her warm. You can condemn a building. You can't condemn a home.
Daddy, are they going to take our home?
Mark crushed the notice in his fist. The fight wasn't over. 6 months earlier, Mark Vance towed an abandoned school bus to a hillside east of town.
You are burying a school bus? What's next? Living underground like a groundhog.
No more frozen nights in the car. This shell will keep her warm.
He'd found the rusted shell abandoned in a scrapyard, yellow paint flaking, and saw a shelter. He towed it to a forgotten hillside where no one cared to look, and started digging. Day after day, he buried the bus deeper, while the neighbors called it madness.
Daddy, will it really be warm inside, like a real house?
Warmer. The dirt holds heat. It won't freeze, sweetheart. We'll be safe.
The town saw a derelict eyesore. Mark saw the only home Mia had. That night, Mia drew their buried bus under a yellow sun and taped it to the metal wall. It became their flag. Mark insulated every inch of the bus while the 30-day deadline ticked away.
Hope you've got a plan for winter, Mole Man. That dirt won't stop the freeze.
They don't understand. The earth stays 50 degrees all winter. It's a blanket.
He installed a small wood stove and hid solar panels on the buried roof, invisible from the road.
Daddy, why is it warm without the stove?
Because the ground loves us, baby. It holds heat from the sun, even when it's cold outside. It's like a big hug.
He stocked the long cabin with water, canned goods, and blankets, a bunker for 2. Mia covered the walls with bright crayon suns and flowers, each picture a protest against the gray outside. The bus became a hidden home, but the deadline crept closer with every sunset.
2 weeks left. I'll finish. Then they'll see.
The town council voted 4-3. The order was final: remove the buried bus within 30 days, or the county would demolish it at his expense.
I told you this would happen, Vance. The council won't be swayed by sentiment. You've got 1 week before they send the trucks.
Then I'll use that week. This is Mia's home. I won't hand her the keys to another cold car.
He turned away, and the hatch closed with a hard, metallic thud. Inside, the warmth was a quiet rebellion.
They don't know what's in here. Food, water, heat. We can last.
That night, the sky turned the color of slate. The radio on the shelf suddenly lit up. Emergency alert, blizzard warning for the county. 9 feet of snow forecast. Roads impassable. All residents must shelter in place. Repeat, 9 feet of snow. Mark didn't flinch. He checked the wood pile, then looked at Mia.
Is the storm going to be big, Daddy?
Biggest one yet. But this bus isn't going anywhere. We'll be safe.
The blizzard hit before dawn. Wind screamed across the hillside, but inside the buried bus, the air was still. Mia sat at her small table, drawing a bright sunflower. Mark checked the thermometer on the wall.
50 degrees. The Earth's keeping its promise. We won't freeze.
Is the snow going to bury us, Daddy?
It's already trying. But the hatch is sealed, and the roof is strong. The Earth is insulating perfectly. The stove is barely needed.
Outside, snow piled against the buried hull, but the bus held its ground, warm and dry.
See? No ice on the windows. The walls are warm to touch.
I like our bus. It's like a cocoon.
The storm would rage for hours, but inside the buried bus, the battle was already won. By nightfall, the storm snapped main power lines, plunging every house into darkness. A battery-powered radio declared, "State of emergency. Power grid failure. No cruise until the blizzard passes." Mark checked the solar battery monitor. The buried bus hummed with quiet electricity, lights warm and steady.
90%, enough for weeks if we conserve.
Across town, Elaine Carver sat in her dark living room, ice forming on the inside of her windows.
Should have heeded the warnings. This cold is bone deep.
Greg Harmon's house lost heat within hours. He huddled under blankets, his breath a white plume.
That vet built a bunker, and we called him Mole. Now, I am freezing to death.
Daddy, what about the other kids? Are they warm?
I don't know, Mia. But right now, we stay safe. The storm will break.
By the second day, the snow had not stopped. It rose past windows, past doors, sealing the town in a frozen silence. Somewhere beneath that white, families huddled in dark rooms, their breath icing the air. Mark slid open the viewing slot on the hatch and pressed his face to the cold metal.
9 feet of snow. Solid as concrete. Nobody's getting through that.
He closed the slot and turned back to the warm, amber-lit cabin where Mia was drawing again.
Daddy, I made a big sun. It's so bright it can melt all the snow.
That's a mighty sun, Mia. It'll keep us warm in here.
She taped it next to the others, a growing constellation of crayon light against the metal walls.
She doesn't understand how bad it is. Maybe that's mercy.
They had food for weeks, but the weight of the world outside was pressing in. A frantic banging echoed through the bus. Mark shot upright, his hand going to the hatch wheel. He slid open the viewport. Outside, Greg Harmon's face was blue, his beard crusted with ice.
Vance, please. I can't feel my hands.
Daddy, it's the man who laughed, but he's hurt. We have to help him.
He said we were moles. Now the mole is the only one with heat.
Mark undogged the hatch and pulled Greg inside. He tumbled onto the floor, snow spilling around him. The warm air hit Greg like a wall. He gasped, then shuddered uncontrollably.
I am sorry, Vance. I was a fool. This place, it's like a real home.
Sit here. Drink this. It's just soup, but it's hot.
Greg took the cup, his eyes roaming the stocked shelves and bright drawings. He looked small. The hatch banged again, not one fist, but several. Mark looked through the port. Half a dozen shivering shadows, Elaine Carver in front.
Vance, please. We have nowhere else. The cold is killing people. I was wrong. I admit it. Just let us in.
She signed my eviction. Now she's asking for mercy from the mole.
Daddy, they're like us. We have to share.
He turned the wheel, and the hatch opened, letting in a blast of cold and a flood of desperate neighbors. Elaine stumbled in last, her silver-streaked hair frosted. She looked around the warm, glowing interior, and her sternness cracked.
You were right. This isn't an eyesore. It's a lifeboat.
Mark organized them. Blankets there, soup here. Mia handed her drawings to a shivering child, suns and flowers, a piece of hope. The bus, built for 2, now held a dozen, but the warmth held. Outside, the storm screamed on. Inside, old enemies were learning to breathe the same air. The blizzard did not let up for 10 days. Mark ran the shelter like a forward operating base, rationing food, assigning watch shifts.
Half a cup of soup per person. We stretch what we have. Nobody panics.
Elaine watched him with a quiet intensity, seeing not a homeless man, but a commander.
He's led people through worse than this, and we tried to bury him alive.
Mia became the shelter's heart, passing out her drawings like medicine.
This one's for you. It's a rainbow. When the snow melts, we'll see one.
On the 11th morning, the wind died. A strange silence filled the bus.
It's over. The storm's broken.
He threw open the hatch. Golden sunlight spilled in, warming faces that had almost forgotten it. They had survived, but the question no one asked aloud still hung in the air. Would the council let them stay? The town dug out, shovels striking ice. The buried bus stood undamaged, its red arrow bright like a beacon.
That bus saved us. We called him crazy, but he was the only one ready.
The Vance bus kept 12 people warm for 10 days without power. We owe him more than thanks. We owe him respect.
But some on the council balked. The buried bus still didn't meet code, they argued.
Then we changed the code, because that eyesore saved this town.
A formal hearing was set. The fate of the Vance home would be decided in public.
Mark, I pushed for a hearing. I'll stand with you, but it won't be easy. The inspector will fight it.
I've fought worse. But thank you. For the first time, it's not just me alone.
Daddy, are they still going to take our home?
The hearing would test more than a building code. It would test whether a town could admit it was wrong. Public support for Mark swelled. Greg Harmon spoke to a news crew, his voice shaking.
That bus saved my life. I called him a mole, but I was the one blind underground.
A petition gathered 400 signatures. The town was waking up.
The petition is pressure, Mark. But we need more. Codes, photos, hard proof.
Mark prepared his defense. Blueprints spread across the table, every detail of the bus's safety documented.
If it's a code fight, I'll win. This bus is safer than any house in town.
Daddy, if they say no, will we have to leave?
Not without a fight, Mia. This is our home, and I am not giving it up.
The bus stood silent, warm, unshaken, holding more than earth now. It held a community's hope, fragile but growing. The hearing was 2 days away. The real thaw would test whether the council's ice could melt. The day before the hearing, Building Inspector Frank Dorsey arrived at the bus with a thick code book and a cold stare.
This is a death trap. Vance. No egress windows. Earthen walls unrated. Wood stove too close to combustibles.
The earth is rated R-30 insulation. The stove has a double-walled pipe and a spark arrestor. And here are the CO2 detectors.
Inspector, this home survived a 9-foot blizzard with no heat loss. It's safer than most houses in town.
The code doesn't care about blizzards. It cares about clearances and certifications. This won't pass.
He's not looking at the proof. He's looking for a reason to fail us.
Then, we'll get certifications. We'll install whatever you need. But you can't deny the evidence. It works.
The inspector left, his objections noted. The hearing would proceed, and his report would carry weight. That night, Mark showed Mia the binder of evidence. Her drawings were on top, the sun shining over the bus.
See, Mia, we have proof. The bus is our home, and no one's taking it.
That night, by candlelight, Mark spread a topographical map. Mia watched, eyes wide.
Mia, if we lose tomorrow, I found another place. We could build again.
But, Daddy, this bus is my home. My drawings are here. I don't want to leave.
I know, but we have to be ready. I'll fight, but if we lose, we'll still be together.
Mia's lip trembled. She clutched his jacket and buried her face against him.
Home is us, Mia. Not a bus. Not a place. I'll fight, but I need you to be brave.
Can you really win, Daddy?
I don't know, but I'll try. That's all I can promise.
He tucked her into bed and sat by the window, watching the stars fade. The bus was silent.
I'll fight for her home, even if I have to stand alone and let them judge.
The pre-hearing meeting convened in a small chamber. Inspector Frank Dorsey was called first.
The wood stove is within 18 inches of unrated material. The earthen walls have no fire rating. It's a tinderbox.
Here is a photo of the stove installation. Double wall pipe, 12-inch clearance, spark arrestor. A CO2 detector is mounted above it, and a fire extinguisher, inspected, tagged. The bus survived a 9-foot blizzard. If it were a fire hazard, it wouldn't have lasted one night.
Frank straightened his glasses, jaw tight. He flipped through his code book, but found no language to counter the images.
It still doesn't meet the strict letter of the code. Alternate materials require testing.
Testing. It was tested by a record blizzard. 12 people sheltered safely for 10 days. That is real-world proof.
2 council members exchanged glances. One nodded slowly. The inspector's authority had a crack. The hearing was set to resume next week, but the tide had shifted.
Maybe now they see. This wasn't madness. It was a lifeline.
The council chamber filled. Greg Harmon took the stand, his hands still shaking from the cold that nearly took him.
I called him a mole. But when I was freezing to death, that mole pulled me into his warm bus and saved my life.
A murmur rippled through the crowd. 2 council members leaned forward, their earlier certainty fading. Elaine Carver rose next, her voice steadier than it had been in weeks.
For 10 days, Mark Vance led us. He rationed food, kept order, and kept 12 people alive in a buried bus. That is not a code violation. That is a sanctuary.
The council president removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. None of them had expected this. 3 more witnesses came. A mother who clutched a drawing Mia had given her child. A shopkeeper who'd been seconds from hypothermia. Mark sat silent, his jaw tight. Mia held his hand, her small fingers interlaced with his.
I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because she needed a home. Now they're the ones asking to stay.
The hearing adjourned with no decision. The council would reconvene in 3 days. The weight of the town's future hung in the air. The night before the final hearing, the bus held only 2 souls. Mark lit a single candle.
Daddy, are you scared?
A little. But I want to tell you a story.
He told her about a freezing night in the desert when his unit was pinned down in a sandstorm. And his sergeant spoke of resilience.
My sergeant said, "We don't control the outcome. We only control our response. That's the only victory that matters. So tomorrow, I'll stand and respond. That's all."
Mia's eyes grew heavy. She leaned against him, her breathing slowing, safe in the warmth of the buried bus.
Whatever they decide, I've given her everything I have. This bus is already our victory.
He looked at the walls, covered in crayon suns and flowers. Each one a memory of her laughter, a defiance of the cold. The bus was silent, save for the ticking of the wood stove. Mark felt a quiet he hadn't known in years.
Tomorrow, I'll stand. Not to beg, to bear witness. Whatever comes, we've already won.
The final hearing day arrived. The council chamber was packed, every seat taken, the air thick with weeks of waiting.
3 months ago, I handed Mark Vance a condemnation notice. I was wrong. This bus saved lives. Today, I ask this council to do something harder than enforce a code, to admit when a rule didn't see the truth.
I respect the emotional testimony. But the code exists for a reason. That structure is unpermitted, unrated, and outside standard safety.
Then Mark Vance rose. He walked to the podium without notes. Mia clutched her drawing in the front row, her knuckles white.
I am not here to beg. I am here to tell you what that bus is. It's not a code violation. It's my daughter's bedroom. When the snow buried everything, that bus gave strangers more than heat. It gave them hope. You can tear it down, but you can't erase what it proved.
Mia pressed her drawing against her chest, a single yellow sun rising over a buried bus. The council president set down his pen. 2 members stared at the table. One wiped the corner of an eye. The council president cleared his throat. "We will now deliberate." The chamber fell silent.
Whatever comes, we gave them the truth. Now let them carry it.
The council returned after 20 minutes. The roll call vote began, each name a held breath. One by one, the votes fell. 2 opposed, 2 opposed, 2 in favor. Then the deciding voice. The council president looked at Mark, then spoke. The condemnation is revoked. Mr. Vance, the land is yours. For a moment, silence. Then, the room erupted. Applause, cheers, a stampede of relief.
We get to stay, Daddy. We get to stay.
We're home, Mia. We're home.
Elaine Carver watched from the side, her sternness finally gone, replaced by a trembling smile.
I almost buried the best thing this town had. Never again.
The bus, once an eyesore, now stood as the town's symbol of survival. Mark Vance, the mocked veteran, had built a home that not even 9 feet of snow could break. Outside the council chamber, Elaine Carver placed the deed into Mark Vance's hands.
This is the final piece. The bus is now a recognized residence. No council can touch it again.
Mia, clutching her drawing, ran to her father the moment he stepped outside.
You did it, Daddy. The bus is really ours forever.
Forever, Mia. And we can paint it any color you want.
Crews cleared the last of the snow. The buried bus emerged whole, its red arrow bright in the winter sun. No longer hidden, the bus stood as solid as any house on the street. Neighbors who had once mocked now stopped to smile. The bus had become a landmark of resilience.
They called it an eyesore. Now they take pictures in front of it.
That evening, Mark Vance sat outside his buried bus, a mug of coffee in hand, and watched the sunset kiss the red arrow. A week later, Mia stood on a stool and taped her biggest drawing to the outside of the bus.
Now everyone can see it. This is our home and it's the best home ever.
Neighbors passing by would pause, smile, and point. Some took photos. The bus was no longer a secret. Locals began calling it the Burrow, a place of warmth dug from cold earth. Mark built raised garden beds beside the bus, the dark soil a promise of green shoots to come.
Grew food in the desert, Mia. This should be easy.
Can we grow sunflowers? Really tall ones, higher than the bus?
He looked at the small brass plaque by the door, engraved with Vance Home. It was official. Each evening, Mark sat in his old chair outside, watching the sun set behind the bus. The red arrow that once marked a mocked dream now pointed toward a home that had taught an entire town what survival really meant. On quiet nights, the bus glowed like a lantern buried in the hillside, its windows warm amber against the dark. Mark would sit in his old chair, watching Mia chase fireflies in the meadow beside their home.
Daddy, look! They glow just like our suns.
She finally has a home, not just walls. A place that knows her name.
The red arrow caught the last light of every sunset, a quiet reminder of the storm that had made them neighbors. Winter would come again, but the bus would stand ready. A buried promise, a home that the cold could never take. The eyesore had become a landmark, and the mole had become the heart of a town that finally understood.
We didn't just survive the storm. We taught it where to break.
And on the bus wall, a child's drawing of a sun and a buried home still hung, untouched by the winter. A testament to the simplest truth: home is not a building. It is the place you build when everyone else has given up,